As the demand for ventilators continues to increase worldwide, a team of Uruguayan doctors, computer technicians and programmers have developed an artificial ventilator made from recyclable materials that can actually be used in an intensive care unit. Welcome to Foreign Dispatches this week as COVID-19 continues to hit the world hard. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Thanks for joining us. Richard Branson's aerospace company Virgin Orbit also hopes to help ease the shortage of ventilators around the world. Take a look.
Known for making launch systems that take satellites to orbit, the California-based company has joined forces with a consortium of medical and engineering experts in the U.S. to try and mass-produce bridge ventilators that will help patients who are not critically ill.
The idea of the ventilator is for the patients who are not critically ill, the patients who do not need the ICU. Could we create a ventilator for those patients to help them breathe and free up the more sophisticated units, the more expensive units for those patients who really need it? We call it a bridge ventilator. And it's really an idea that came about through a consortium of university medical experts at University of California, Irvine and the University of Texas, Austin. And the idea was, how do we take something that's normally in an ambulance that helps patients at the front end, how could we use that device, which is already certified to help patients breathe, and automate around it? And so we joined this group, and with their guidance, our job was, then how can we take this project, put our engineers, our most innovative people with our manufacturing people together, quickly create a product that could be produced very efficiently, very quickly, very simply, and the team's been attacking it 24/7.
Virgin Orbit says they employ around 500 members of staff and claim that about 200 of those are now working on this new project. While there is no set price tag yet on the new unit, Hart says their simpler ventilator would be less expensive than more sophisticated devices.
We have a little bit over 500 members of staff. Most of our staff are focused on our first launch, which is a rocket that's currently under the wing of a 747 aircraft in Mojave. But we are diverting the production team, and we will divert as many as 200 or more to this project, but we need to do it in an orderly fashion, so we'll start out a little smaller, and then we'll do our best to replicate production lines and get people on it.
There is still some red tape for the company to navigate. They are working on getting the design completed and sorting regulatory requirements before the product can be rolled out. They are yet to get the necessary approval from the Food and Drug Administration. Virgin Orbit have themselves felt the impact of the coronavirus on their work practices, but are still planning on going ahead with their final development test for rocket launcher run in a few weeks. Uruguayan cardiologist Dr. Roberto Canessa and computer programmer Marcio La Rosa spearheaded the project after La Rosa saw a version of the ventilator originally produced in Israel on the internet. La Rosa says the model looked pretty simple, so he showed it to Canessa.
Navegando en internet vi el modelo.
I saw this model on the internet and it seemed pretty simple. It was something we could make here in the workshop. I asked my colleague Roberto Canessa and he agreed to move forward, so we decided to get it started.
The Uruguayan design team worked together over the course of 3 days to produce their ventilator, which is based on the motor that runs a car's windshield wiper. However, as they evaluated the product, they realized it could not meet the demands of an intensive care unit and set out to upgrade the original design. The result is a ventilator that can be used in the ICU and that works pneumatically. The team named it Guenoa, a Uruguayan indigenous tribe.
Within our means here in Uruguay, I think it complies with the function required by an intensivist caring for a patient. We gave it the finishing touch 2 nights ago to keep pressure not too high inside the lung, and it worked. We pulled it off.
The guanoa is expected to receive approval from the Uruguayan Public Health Ministry soon and begin testing on pigs. CNESA says doctors from Chile and Peru have already expressed interest in the device.
Migrant workers drawn from attractive pay are keeping Switzerland asparagus supplies moving during the coronavirus crisis, and that's despite fears that could be kept out by border restrictions. This comes as there are fears of food shortage if the lockdown order in some countries is extended to curb the spread of the virus.
Seasonal farm workers in Switzerland earn about 3,300 Swiss francs. That's about $3,400 a month for a 55-hour work week, approximately half the national average in one of the world's most expensive countries. It is hard outdoor work, rain or shine. In the Jocker Farm's asparagus fields north of Zurich, a crew of 80 Polish and Romanian workers, many of whom have been coming for years, harvest and wash about 1,000 kilograms per day of the spring delicacy. The previous day's haul sells out by nightfall for around 28 francs per kilo for top quality spears, with sales from the farm shop holding up well, although deliveries to restaurants are down. So far, the farm has all the workers it needs. Operations head Sven Stoder says fears that the coronavirus border restrictions would prevent seasonal employees from getting to Switzerland have not materialized.
To harvest asparagus, it's not so easy, it's hard work. Our employees work 55 hours a week for not much money. It's a hard job. At every weather conditions you have to be outside. It's really hard. It's really hard, and I don't think we get many people from Switzerland. They want to work like that.
Stoder has received inquiries from people looking for work after their jobs took a hit from the coronavirus crisis, but so far he has not needed additional help. That is partly because Jocker Farms also has restaurant and event businesses closed due to the pandemic, so those workers are being moved to other posts within the operation.
2 weeks ago was the shutdown in Switzerland, and we were a bit in panic, thinking about the people that we don't have here. And then we started to tell them to come to Switzerland. And now at the moment it's like that. We have enough people, we have enough workers here, and I hope in the main season, starting in mid of April, beginning of May, we get this around 80 workers that we need to collect all the asparagus and the other crops.
Reports say Switzerland is keeping money flowing to some self-employed people whose income has collapsed, while 76,000 companies have in just over a week tapped about 15 billion francs in state-backed loans. Meanwhile, a Swiss entrepreneur opens a drive-through garden center in the hopes of nurturing employment rather than profit and accommodating those who plan to garden crops at home during the pandemic. Johannes Zulauf says with lockdown measures currently in effect, there is a trend for home-growing fruit and vegetables.
With the actual corona situation, we see that our clients and in general people in Switzerland are growing their own fruit and vegetable. There's a huge interest for all these plants that in the end you can eat from.
Johannes got the inspiration from seeing a similar arrangement for customers to drive up and buy tools in the United States. The idea is not so much to make money while the regular garden centers are closed, but rather to keep staff working.
The idea was born with a sample from the US, and we saw a drive-in from a tool center, and that gave us the idea, since we had the lockdown of our garden center, gave us the idea to build up the drive-through for plant selling.
Clients have been snapping up fruit trees, seedlings and tomato plants at the drive-through site, which can handle up to 35 to 40 cars an hour.
Our garden center, our big garden center, is closed. So with this drive-through and other possibilities online, we are just capable to sell around 5 to 7% of our normal turnaround in March and April. So this is just a very little part of it.
Johans, who normally operates a regular garden center, says the drive-through operation and online sales keep the business going, although they are generating only 5 to 7% of his business's normal revenue.
The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases continues to rise in South Africa. All hopes of going back to business soon are hanging. For many self-employed Nigerians in the country, it is getting even harder to put food on the table. A South African bureau chief, Betty Dibia, reports.
The past few weeks have been tough for the world, no doubt. And for many Nigerians who are self-employed living in South Africa, the outlook is still a grim one.
I do sell something on the streets in Struben Street. That's where I do my things.
I'm a technician. I do fix phones, laptops.
I'm a footballer, and I do salon here.
I'm a stylist. So when this lockdown started 26. Actually, that 26th date is the day I was supposed to be working. That's when I get customer for my hair. So it happens as if that we just knock out down from that 26th, I go house. So I don't have the enough time to do my work to the end of the month and get a lot of money I used to pay my rent.
We also visited an area with a high population of Nigerians. This is Kempton Park in Johannesburg, from where we have brought you a number of stories involving Nigerians. But it's so difficult to believe that this is a working day or a weekday in the area. Courtesy of the lockdown, many of the shops are closed and many Nigerians trade on a day-to-day basis here.
Here in Kempton Park, it's very tough since this lockdown. People have been crying for food. A lot of people, they have been crying. Even many of them are in the street now looking for one thing or the other to eat because they're always based in daily bread.
To help out, several Nigerian community groups are reaching out across the country to fellow citizens. We caught up with the Nigerian Citizens Association, CASA, in various parts of Johannesburg. Some of the packages they had were home delivered, while other beneficiaries came out to collect at various points.
I got 4 children. It's not easy for me. So to survive is not easy for me at all. It's not easy for everybody. So we are just struggling to survive. So may God bless you people.
Through these structures, we hope to reach those ones that are really in need for immediate relief of, because we don't know how long this will continue. And at that, we also want to show appreciation to those Nigerians that have come, on board to show support to what we are doing. We are working with what they have given to us.
In Pretoria, we joined the Nigerian Union South Africa doing the same across the country as well through their structures. They say support of the initiative from fellow Nigerians has been overwhelming.
In fact, there is one that touched the heart of the National Executive, a student of UJ that donated 500 rands to say, please help me use it for people that are in need. And I'm giving out of my widow's mite. So we National Executive came up with the idea. We bankroll it the first phase from our pocket. Then people came to our aid.
Yeah, it's because of lockdown I cannot do my business. So I'm short of food. So when I heard that they said we should come, then I have to be here to come and collect. And I want to say thank you very much and God bless you.
Many families, some non-Nigerians, had a nicer Easter than they expected, and the Nigerian community hopes to do much more.
I just want to thank our Nigerian community for providing us, for helping us with this grocery so that we can put bread on our table for our kids.
The challenge we faced so far is being able to have a proper database of the needy, as we are ready to step up our efforts in giving more materials should the need arises.
Nigeria's Consul General in Johannesburg, Mr. Godwin Adama, commended the group's support for fellow Nigerians and also appealed to the people to keep abiding by the lockdown rules.
And that is, if we are keeping all that, then the government will be able to reduce the number of sprays. And I think from what I'm seeing, that is actually happening. A number of thousands have been tested, but the increase in the infection rate has not been much. It is reducing. So which means whatever the South African government is doing is actually working. And I want to encourage our people to keep with those protocols so that we will not be part of the problem at all. We are going to be part of the solution.
With the lockdown extended, many businesses remain suspended. But with these gestures, which is still ongoing, at least many immediate needs will be attended to. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia for Foreign Dispatches.
Welcome back. Denmark is expected to reveal plans to relax its coronavirus lockdown, becoming the first country outside Asia to do so. The reason is that the risks of a deep recession may now be even more dangerous for Danish society than a second outbreak. Take a look.
The Nordic country was one of the first in Europe to shut down. And with the number of coronavirus cases stabilizing, it's now facing tough decisions on reopening. On March 30th, the government said it will start by gradually lifting its lockdown after Easter if the number of cases and deaths remained stable, apparently confident it can guard its population against a second outbreak. The Danish Prime Minister says she hoped to be able to present a plan for the first phase of a reopening after consultation with the other parties in government. But many Danes question whether the government's confidence is well-founded. Kasim Khan, co-owner and head chef at a small Latin American restaurant in central Copenhagen, applauds the government's quick decision to shut down the country, but worries that a reopening after Easter will be too early and could actually delay a return to normal.
My first thought was that we haven't looked out in the world to see what has happened. So I think it's a bit too soon to talk about reopening, even though it would be really good for us. I just think it's gonna extend the whole the whole period of the sickness or the virus. So I think it's too early to talk about that.
With the help of his pregnant girlfriend and 2 remaining staff members, Kasim is still keeping his kitchen open for takeaway orders. But he's not sure of how much longer his restaurant will be able to go on.
For us, it's, of course, I don't know how people are going to react to reopening a restaurant if people still going to stay home. Personally, I wouldn't maybe go out to eat right now, even though they opened up, because I think the fear of having this disease or getting sick is too big. So even though they're going to open up, it's not going to be beneficial for anyone.
And considering whether to ease the restrictions, the government is trying to balance the need to keep its population safe and the economic risks of a deep recession. Denmark extended its lockdown order by 2 weeks after Easter to limit physical contact between citizens. Denmark had reported a high number of cases of coronavirus-related deaths, while the number of hospitalizations for coronavirus doubled from over 200 to over 500, according to data from the Danish Health Authority. The country has reported a total of 2,577 coronavirus infections as at the week before Easter. Danish authorities have restricted public assembly to 10 or fewer people, ordered the closure of schools, universities, daycare centers, restaurants, cafes, libraries, gyms, and hair salons, and shut all borders to most foreigners. A reopening will probably include people attending schools and work in shifts to avoid rush hour traffic and too many people gathering in public at the same time. The Prime Minister said she hopes to be able to present a plan for the first phase of reopening by the end of the week after consultation with the other parties in government.
en dybt alvorlig baggrund.
Keeping the elderly safe amidst the COVID-19 pandemic has become a major focus for some governments. Physicians say the level of vulnerability of old persons to the virus is very high, and this could be costly for nations to handle.
81-year-old Venezuelan retiree Carlos Blanco has for more than a year been unable to buy diabetes medication as the country's hyperinflation has left their monthly pensions insufficient to buy even a loaf of bread. Already at high risk in the coronavirus pandemic because of his age, the Blanco's untreated type 2 diabetes leaves him at greater risk of any type of infection as well as complications including blurred vision or diabetic comas. He's now confined to his home after President Nicolas Maduro declared quarantine, living off the food he and his wife have in storage. Blanco says he feels like they've been left to die. Blanco, like 3 million other Venezuelan retirees, struggles to live on state pensions of 250,000 bolivars, the equivalent of about $3, which can at best buy a few pounds of chicken or several kilos of corn flour.
It is impossible in any country in the world for a person to live on $3. Here, the older adult receives those $3 and it is not enough for medicine or even to support himself on a daily basis.
The coronavirus outbreak has sparked concern around the world for the elderly, who are much more vulnerable to the COVID-19 respiratory disease. But the plight of senior citizens is acute in Venezuela following 6 years of brutal economic crisis and chronic problems with power and water supply. In a survey by non-profit groups Convite and HelpAge, 77% of Venezuelans over 55 do not have access to enough food, and 1 in 10 go to bed hungry. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Aid says 24 of those people are over 50.
And finally, on the program today, a Basra artist has painted tributes to those fighting COVID-19. Check it out.
Basra-based artist Dua Manshad is presenting a series of paintings that illustrate her vision of the spreading coronavirus. From paintings of medical workers to abstract representations of the virus attacking the human body, Dua also uses real face masks that she attaches to her works.
My work and other commitments prevented me from drawing for a while. Now, I felt that the right time to start painting again had come, and I used this period to present a series of paintings related to the topic currently present in our environment, the coronavirus that's spreading so fast.
The 28-year-old painter usually works for a private tourism company, but is now devoting her time under lockdown to painting. As an artist, she sees her role in illustrating what currently worries society the most and in raising awareness throughout our community.
We are using social media such as Facebook because at the moment, people are only thinking about the coronavirus, social media, the news, and the ongoing developments.
Unable to organize an actual exhibition due to the restriction imposed on the city of Basra to curb the spread of the coronavirus, Dua is using social media to promote her works.
And that's the program today. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to keep up with our top stories. You can do it on channelstv.com. Thanks for watching today's edition of Foreign Dispatches. I'll see you again very soon. Don't forget, stay safe and stay home. I'm Anne Umawadu. Thanks for watching.